Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for tuning in. I have more strange recent dreams for you, which you can do whatever you want with, or nothing at all, or just listen. They are very strange. And so if you think they're ridiculous, that's okay, because I kind of do too. But yet they were fun and funny, interesting. So the one last night, I was in my first apartment of my own after I graduated college, but I wasn't in the past, it was the present. And I was apparently the proud owner of a small telepathic or talking fish. It was a tiny fish in one of the old school kind of round bowls. Like two of the sides had the round faces on them, but it was sort of like not very wide overall, if you know what I mean. That old school design that sometimes is almost like in cartoons too, of a representative small fish bowl. And it was the only fish in there, and there was nothing else in the bowl except the water. And it was hanging out near the top of the water. So I don't know. I don't know if it was talking, like sticking its head out of the water to talk, or if we were talking telepathically. I couldn't tell because I could hear it really well, but I didn't remember thinking to myself one way or the other whether we were which way we were speaking, whether it was verbal or non-verbal. But anyway, the fish told me that it had been bioengineered in a lab. Did I already say that? And that there were other things that this lab was working on, this bioengineering company. They were trying to create more like of these futuristic life forms, which is kind of scary slash interesting. So, maybe we were maybe this took place in the future. I don't really know. It felt like the present, though. And I think maybe I already said the fish was more or less translucent. It was kind of white or a little bit shiny even, but you could kind of see through it too. And it it made reference to our current political climate by asking kind of like what was going on outside in the world outside the fishbowl, because it was interested. It wanted to see more of the world outside the fishbowl, which is understandable if you were smart enough to know that you were in a fishbowl as a fish, and you were smart enough to have thoughts and communicate. You would want to know what was going on in the world. So it specifically asked, looking out the window to my right, I could see that the sky was blue with these gray streaks in it, and then to my left, the sky was kind of like more blue and sunny. So it was like it was different over here than it was over here out the two different windows. And so the fish asked, "Hey, what's going on over here? What looks a little like dodgy?" And symbolically, I had the sense that this was where some of our political and social unrest was. I know that doesn't really make sense, like that it would all be in one direction and then the other direction would be, all sunny skies. Hey, buddy, Shay's here. How you doing? Love you. But that's how it was in the dream. Like, I just knew that that's what it was talking about. And I said, well, yeah, it's a little dodgy over here to the right. And I guess you could maybe infer, to the right, meaning to the right politically. It's a little dodgy over here on the right and more sunny on the left. But I think it's going to be okay. And then I said, if I get out today and I go up to look, I'll come back and let you know. Now, I don't know why I didn't offer to bring it with me, but I didn't. And apparently, what I don't know is how I came into possession of the fish, because apparently the fish had been stolen from its lab. Because it was talking about the lab, and I asked, did it want to go back to the lab? And it said that it did, which surprised me, because I was expecting that it wanted to be free, but it was saying, no, I want to go back, like, because maybe there was more to learn there, or it wanted to continue to evolve. I didn't understand, but I said, I wish I could help, but if I take you back to the lab, they'll almost definitely arrest me. So we can't do that. so it kind of understood. And then, and then at some point, oh, it was talking about things that it had seen on TV. Like, so this must be so I must have had the fish a while. It must have been watching TV when I was watching TV. And since it's the first time we talked, it was like curious about things it had seen on TV. So maybe that's how it knew about the politics too. And so referencing some commercials it had seen, it kind of made a joke like, I really want a McRib. It really said that. And I said back, that shit'll kill you. And then both the fish and I laughed. So this does make you wonder if I'm, insane, because I have to question it too. But it's just a dream. Like, I can't make this up because it's too weird to make up. So maybe my dream mind is insane, but I'm not. Okay. So, then after a bit, it came out of the bowl. I think it hopped out, or I helped it get out. And then it was on the rug. And it started to grow a shell. And then instead of like looking like a translucent little fish, it kind of looked like a tiny little lobster with like little claws and like the antenna, So it was quite a transformation. It looked really different from when it was in the bowl. And then it began to, again, I'm just going to roll with it and go with the insanity. Whatever. It's too late now. So to turn back, it started to interact with other little creatures on my carpet. One of which was a larger than usual spider for this region, but was maybe about this big. So it was like sort of comparable in size to the new kind of lobster fish, I'll call it now. And then there was another little creature on the rug that looked kind of like maybe like a tiny little crab that was shaped like a sort of an oval head. The spider was trying to make off with the crab, I think to eat it. So the lobsterfish, the bioengineered lobsterfish, intervened and was like, and even said something like, you can't eat the crab because, like, I need you both as friends, or I need, like, I need a social life here. So nobody eats anybody. Like, we all have to, like, not eat each other because we're going to be interacting here. So I guess it was planning to stay. And it goes to stop the spider, and it's like kind of like they're kind of like locked in a kind of comedic combat struggle. And I'm thinking to myself, would I be able to thwick, the spider without like making the crab go flying and my new fish friend go flying too? But I didn't get a chance to do it because the spider snapped off the one or both of the antenna on the fish that was now had it kind of like a lobster shell. And the fish was like, hey, like, what? And it was okay, but it was like, it was funny. Like, the reaction was funny. I mean, I don't think it thought it was funny, but like, it was almost kind of played for laughs. And that was all of that dream. So, yeah. Am I going to really put this video up? It's a good question. I'm already 9 minutes in. Haven't been drinking, by the way. And I went for a swim today, so my head is pretty cleared out. but I remember thinking that it was interesting that the fish had told me about other things being engineered at that lab, and I wasn't. And I kind of, it seemed like I had some knowledge about the lab that it came from. So I don't know if I was involved in trying to like rescue some of their living creations, but there was this sense that other things were going to be coming, and it was a question as to whether this bioengineering company was benevolent, or what their objectives were. What were they trying to achieve by this? But unfortunately, those questions weren't answered, and the dream ended with the little rug scene of the three little creatures interacting. So I assume that I continued to have the fish as a pet, I guess. So there was that one. And was there another one last night? Oh, there was. I was dreaming. I was telling my mom about these dreams. So as usual, she was going. Actually, what she said today was, she's like, I wish I could have dreams like that because they sound fun. They're interesting. And I'm like, yeah, they are fun. They are interesting. They're weird, but they're interesting. I had a dream that I was maybe kind of working back at my old job at this art center, but everything was different. Like all the offices were souped up and fancy. And I saw people there that I knew from high school who never worked there, but they were working there now. But the part that I really remember the most was that I had a bunch of different songs running through my head, mostly by black artists from like the 1940s and the 50s. And the song that I had running through my head, singing it to myself, because I kind of have been lately, is called Kansas City. And I can't remember the name of the guy who performed it. He was a black 50s musician. He had an unusual name, something like maybe almost like Wilbert something something. And if you've heard the song before, you know, he sings, this isn't the right key, but I'm going to Kansas City, here I come. Going to Kansas City, here I come. They got some crazy little women there, and I'm gonna get me one. So it's kind of swinging, and he's playing piano on it. If you look up Kansas City, the song Kansas City, you'll find the guy, and he has kind of like old school slicked hair. I can't remember if he has a mustache too. And I found out a good video of him playing it live on some show, and he's got like either a cigarette in his mouth or like in a stand next to him while he's playing it on piano, you know, because they all did that then. Like the cigarette was like a prop to look cool. So in my dream, I'm hearing that song, and I'm hearing other songs by black artists from the 40s and 50s, and I'm like kind of like it's almost like I can see them performing them at the top of the staircase, but this is so hard to describe. I don't want to say that they were in spirit or anything, but the staircase itself seemed to be like almost like in space. Like it was so tall and high and so out of context, and it didn't seem to start anywhere or get you anywhere. Like it didn't seem to end anywhere that you could see. But they were at the top of that staircase singing, so maybe this was like some kind of heavenly scenario. And I was seeing them sort of in succession, like images of people singing these songs and feeling connected to them. And probably the reason I feel connected to them is one of my musical projects is I play in a group that we've been calling the Rock Roots Trio, and we play all 50s music, but we play like 50s rock and roll, 50s blues, 50s country, a little bit of the jazzy stuff, a little bit of everything. And I've started to sing Kansas City now. I'm still kind of learning it, trying to swing it the way that the original guy who wrote it swung it. But you know, we also do Little Richard and Chuck Berry, Elvis, Buddy Holly, Gene Vincent, Hank Williams, Johnny Cash, Ray Charles. So there are definitely black artists in the mix, and they were sort of the focus of this other dream, like at the staircase, at the top of the staircase, sort of singing joyfully. And so maybe I was feeling connected to that era, and I was getting a glimpse of them singing in heaven. Who knows? Who knows? My dreams are, they're not totally, they don't follow strict lines of logic, but I'm seeing myself sort of dancing up this staircase singing Kansas City, Here I Come. And like I said, the staircase was so tall that I was making myself laugh by like sort of almost like high kicking my way up the stairs, singing Kansas City, Here I Come. Because the rest of the lyric is pretty funny too. I can't remember what the second verse is, but the third verse is like, might take a train, might take a plane, but if I have to walk, well, I am going just the same. I'm going to Kansas City, here I come. They got some crazy little women there, and I'm gonna get me one. So there was that, and then that was sort of not dissimilar to another somewhat music-related dream I had within the last couple days too, where I was back in that enormous theater that I described, I think in my last video or the second last video. This sort of metaphysical theater, because it looks really old, and it's dark, but it's ornate. It's got the old seating in it, and the old stage. It feels old-timey, and like the ceiling is ornately painted, and with the big old chandelier that kind of vibe. And as usual, I was sort of part of the show and also watching the show. And this time the show was almost like a big band era show. And it did feel a little like I was in the past, but I wouldn't swear to that. And it was a review. So there was a band on stage, and then one after another, singers were coming out to do one song apiece with the band and then go off, and then another singer would come on and sing with the same band. And like I said, it was kind of like Sinatra era swing. So really almost the same time period, 40s, 50s kind of thing, in this old-timey theater. And I was waiting to see if I was going to be able to perform or not, because I wasn't really sure. I was kind of waiting, but I didn't really know who to talk to about it. And it was interesting because a lot of musicians that I've played with over the years were there, some of which I'm still friends with and some of which I'm not. But it was almost like they were all there nonetheless, and that was fine. And everybody seemed to be dressed in older clothing, like of that era. The men were mostly in suits and the women were in dresses. And then there was an intermission, and then there was going to be a second act. And I was with a woman who was organizing and choosing the song. So I guess I eventually found the person who was the organizer. And she was writing up the set list, and she was rewriting the set list. She had changed her mind. So all the songs in the second half of the show were going to be from a woman's point of view, and they would all be sung by women. And I was standing next to her, and she said, well, maybe we could squeeze in one for you. So that was nice of her to offer. I said, okay, if you can. It didn't really matter to me in this context. So it's kind of interesting that it was going to be all female singers. It seemed like when I woke up and thought about that seemed maybe symbolic of like maybe how things are shifting now for those in the spiritual community who believe that we're kind of shifting into the future of the maybe more powerful divine feminine that is described by many psychic readers. So I thought, oh, maybe this is like representing the rise of the feminine, which I could really believe that, because that's the way it feels like it's going, especially with VP Harris assuming the role for the Democrats now. And then at the end of the dream, instead of being backstage, I was all the way at the top of the theater, and I was so far away from the theater, or from the stage. It was so far away, so far down, so steep. And it reminds me of this theater that we have here in Buffalo called Shays Performing Arts Center, which is like a 3,000 capacity room. And it has double balconies. And if you're in the double balcony, I think I was in there one time, you're so far away. You can't even believe how far away you are, how small people look. But then again, not dissimilar to if you go to, say, a sporting event and you're way, way up in the boonies of the stands, which can be fun. I sometimes like being all the way in the back in the so-called crappy seats because you can really see everything, even though nothing is really close to you. So it was like that. I was way at the top of the theater and looking all the way down on the stage. I saw my old friend Dee Adams, who's a Buffalo singer-songwriter, really great vocalist, one of the best vocalists in the city. And we first became friends probably about 15 years ago, and we used to do duo gigs together and sing on each other's songs and stuff. And we did that for a number of years, and then it kind of petered out, and then she got married, and after she got married, then I didn't really see her so much. But then the irony was, for many years, I ended up performing with her husband in a band for like 5 years, which was also like a 50s style band. And then that eventually ended just before, well, COVID kind of took that band off the map. But it seemed like it was starting to fade away anyway, like around 2019. But I recently reached out to Dee because I hadn't talked to her in years. She lives in the suburbs. Actually, she lives on Grand Island, which is up towards Canada here and just past Niagara Falls, if you know the Western New York, upper Western New York area, and right on the border with Canada. So she lives up in Grand Island, so I don't see her that often because I'm in the city of Buffalo. And I didn't ring her up. I sent her an email to see if she had enough time and was interested in maybe singing on some songs for my next record that I'm working on, because it's been a few records since she has done that for me for hire. And she said yes. So I was like, oh, cool. Okay. So we're going to probably do that at the end of the month in real life. But in the dream, I could see her all the way down on the stage, way, 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 way far away, in like a cute, lightly colored dress, old school kind of dress, maybe blue or white or something. And at this point, she was in the middle of the stage, on the stage, all by herself. I don't know where the band was. And she wasn't even singing. But it was like I had to go down and get her. So I don't know what that's about exactly. Maybe it's because she hasn't really been performing that much in real life the last number of years and seems to be kind of coming back around to performing. So it was symbolic of that. I'm not really sure, but I had to so it was weird. I was kind of making my way down through the rows of people, and then she was sort of making her way up, and I was going to help her up and out, I guess. Doesn't totally make sense. So that's maybe more a personal detail than something to be whatever analyzed. But it was interesting that all the songs in the second half of the show were going to be women's songs, that they changed it. So I thought that part was possibly symbolic. Okay, more singing. One of the dreams before that, either 2 or 3 nights ago, and I think it was the night after the kaleidoscope dream that I related in the last video, being in the theater that got kaleidoscopic. I had another dream of showing up with my guitar, a totally separate dream, at an outdoor kind of festival event. And what was interesting was there was a pretty sizable audience, in front of an outdoor pavilion, and but they were starting to dwindle because the show was basically over. But it seemed like I knew some of the musicians there. And so we were sort of backstage, but some people were still on stage. And for whatever reason, we sort of started playing one of my songs, which I wrote a number of years ago. It's a song called Healing a Broken World. And it's on a CD I did. Let's see, that CD came out in 2017. The CD's called Little Vision, and the song is called Healing a Broken World, and it is online. It's on all the streaming services, so if you want to hear it, you can look it up. And we started playing the song, like, and at first it was just me and one other person, and then everybody had joined in. And then at one point I wasn't even playing guitar anymore. I was just singing the song and holding hands, like linked with a bunch of people, all kind of semi backstage and semi on stage. And some of the people who had attended the concert were still kind of mingling out front, so I guess they could hear us, but it was very informal. And like I said, we were all holding hands and we had our hands raised in the air singing the lyrics. And I could hear the lyrics clear as day. And it's a song I'm proud of because I think it is a good song for the times, even though it was written, written about 10 years ago and recorded about 7-8 years ago. The lyric that we were singing is, "You and me healing a broken world, one soul at a time, one soul at a time." And as we were holding hands and singing like the one soul at a time, I was sort of highly conscious of how true that is. I think that the world changes from one-to-one communications. I mean, yes, there are big events or there are entertainers who reach, masses of people all at one time, or there are politicians who reach masses of people at one time. So maybe in some sense it isn't always just one soul at a time. But excuse me, as far as I'm concerned, in the relative smallness or modesty of my own life, my impact, I guess, I feel is more like one at a time, one person at a time. Whether that's engaging in debate with conservatives on the National Review website, where I try very hard to be semi-polite while also pointing out that their policies are completely ridiculous and abominable. And I try to do it with some humor so that I'm not just going there and quote unquote trolling them, but actually trying to engage in some kind of debate and figure out why they feel the way they feel, and can I move the stone? Can I move the rock that a little bit by being there and trying to present a different point of view and maybe get them to think about it from a different point of view. And I don't know if it's doing any good or if it's not, but it's something it's kind of like my new part-time hobby. But in terms of like how we move the world in our daily lives, a lot of times it is the one-to-one, like where you have the one nice exchange with somebody in a day that you maybe didn't expect to have, or you're friendly with someone at a store or just in passing on the street when you have the opportunity to be, or you have a meaningful conversation with a friend. Like, okay, I saw my friend Mike yesterday. He's been my partner for recording a bunch of my last CDs. He's a recording engineer, but he's also, over the last, almost 15 years, has become a really good friend, like one of my best friends. And we both have spiritual beliefs, but we have kind of not, our political beliefs don't entirely line up. Like, he's more conservative than I am, but we can talk about things without, we can debate or kick around ideas without getting on each other or, antagonistic. And he's had, kind of supernatural experiences like I have too. And so we share that interest in the metaphysical. And he's just one of these kind of people who would really just sort of do a favor for anyone, almost to a fault. Like, he would almost like give his time away when he doesn't have to. Like, in fact, when I saw him yesterday, we worked on music. We worked on finishing the mixes for some new material I'm about to release, which I'll talk about maybe at another time. But I'm going to be putting out a little bit of material as a short, like a EP, a 3-song recording very soon. and we were wrapping that up and then even starting another project at the same time in his little home studio. But before we start, we always sit and talk. And this time we talked a really long time. We talked for like 2 hours. And I think I told him about the kaleidoscope dream and the theater, and then thinking about time skipping forward or even being edited to get us to the better future more quickly, like I was talking about in the last video. And that relationship, like, it's not quite the same as the song, like, because I'm not converting him to anything, but in terms of like the lyric of the song that I was mentioning that we were all singing in the dream, my song, Healing a Broken World, you and me healing a broken world, one soul at a time, and holding hands. And this was a one-to-one conversation that had a lot of meaning. It was personal, and it was cutting through. We don't have to talk small talk. We can talk big talk straight off the cuff because we're close. And so, like, thinking about how those relationships sort of energize the world. And yeah, so I guess in some ways I'm advocating that every exchange we have can be meaningful. It can move people in ways that we're not even aware of. And if we give some of that good juju to somebody else, then they may end up passing it on. Or if we engage them in a conversation about an idea or a concept or a way of seeing the world, like, because I was being pretty positive in this conversation about what I feel is coming, and he was feeling a little unsure. And I think I was able to reassure him a bit or bring him up a little bit. And sometimes he brings me up, because there have been other times where I'm the one who's down and he'll be the one to encourage. And that's what a real friendship is all about anyway. But it made me reflect more on this idea of the one-to-one conversations being really what drives a lot of things and drives change. Like the change, that maybe that's why change is so slow sometimes, because it really takes all these one-to-ones for ideas to filter through all of a society, of a culture, of a country, of many countries over the whole world. So it was really meaningful to me for everybody in that dream I'm describing to be singing my song with me and holding hands in the air, kind of triumphantly, because it came out of the blue, and I haven't performed the song in a while. So it reminded me, gee, I need to really kind of start performing this one again, because this message is strong. And I don't know why I haven't been performing it lately. I'm not sure. Songs kind of go in and out of my sets, or I'll play a song for a while and then kind of give it a rest. But I think maybe it was maybe part of the reason I had the dream was to remind me that it's worth singing. It's worth performing, so that people can hear that message in the way that I express it. And I haven't had many dreams, or really very few that I can recall, where like I'm singing my own song with other people in a dream. I don't think that's ever happened. I did have the dream that I know I related in a previous video, where I was singing with Prince and we were actually working on a song together. And I have finished that song, because I could actually remember, if you'll recall, I could hear the entire verse of the song verbatim when I woke up. I could hear the melody, and I knew what all the words were. And I sang it into my phone, and then I figured it out on guitar, and then I wrote a second section to it on my own afterward. And that's a song that I'm working on this little home studio setup behind me. That song is actually called All Love. And it'll be on a future recording, not the one that's about to come out, but that's sort of like, those are only a few of the times where I can recall where I was like really just actually singing something that I could specifically remember in a dream. Other times it seems like it's nebulous, or it's a song that I don't know, or it's a song that I've never heard, or that doesn't even exist, or who knows. But these were both really specific. And I thought it was a good sign for, like, where it seems like things are headed politically and socially. Like, I feel like there's been an energetic lift in the last week or two in favor of a more optimistic future for this country and by extension the world. And so singing Healing a Broken World in the dream was like reassurance of that feeling that I've been feeling, that I hope you are also experiencing. And let me know if you are or you aren't. I'd be interested to know. But I feel like ever since the announcement of Vice President Harris's candidacy, things have changed. Much for the better. Much for the better. And that's my shtick for today. I talked longer than I intended or meant to. That's the same thing. Or rather, I talked longer than I intended or thought I would. That's what I meant to say. So I will try to do a book reading again very soon. I'm overdue, I know. But I will put that on the list. And otherwise, I'll see you whenever I have another incredibly crazy dream about anything. So thanks for listening. And please leave your feedback. Always curious to know what you make of this weirdness and ridiculousness. Okay, take care. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.